Hi, welcome to Canvas Course Design, creating a user-friendly Canvas course. My name's Tina Gosser. I'm coming to you from the Baldwin Whitehouse School District. I've been a classroom teacher for 24 years. The first half of my career, I was a middle school teacher, science. And then the latter half, I am currently at the high school teaching AP biology and general biology to our freshmen and sophomore students. So it's through this lens I'm going to go into what it looks like to design a Canvas course. 2 years ago, this was a completely new experience for me. I have never designed a web page. I've never designed an online course. I never used any software to afford me that opportunity to do that. And then, of course, when COVID hit and everybody went remote, I was introduced to Canvas, and it became really a lifesaver for me. And it was very intuitive for me to use. So, a little bit more about myself. I am not an early adopter of technology, but nor do I come to it screaming and stomping my feet that I hate new things. I'm more of a mid-level kind of person. So I don't hate technology. I don't love it, but I'm capable of using it for what it's intended to be used for. So with that, let's go ahead and get started on how I looked at designing my Canvas course, and we'll go from there. So first off, when I sat down to actually design my course, I designed my initial course, and then I tried to use it, and I was like, this does not have everything I want in it. So then I went and I tweaked it, and then I threw out the entire design and I started over again. And finally I said, okay, what do I need? So really, I think the idea behind designing a really efficient Canvas course is to have purpose and intent when you go and sit down to do it. So we know that students, when they struggle with a technology platform or an online course, a lot of times it's because they can't navigate the platform itself. They don't know where the teachers are posting their assignments. They don't know where the learning activities are. They don't know how to access their quizzes or how to upload something, or where the teacher wants them to upload it at even. So with that, I thought to myself, okay, well, to save myself a lot of headache, and also my students a lot of frustration, I looked at two important concepts: clarity and accessibility. Is my course easy to use, easy to understand, easy to navigate? And do I make the work that I want my students to do accessible to them? Is it easy for them to get? Always at the same place? Do they know where to go, how to access the material? So it's through that I then designed my course. So to start off with, I'm going to take you on a little tour, and I'm going to be a student going through one of my Canvas courses. Please understand, when I show you my Canvas courses, these are examples of courses, not necessarily an exemplar. There are so many amazing courses out there on Commons. Plus, I'm sure your colleagues or colleagues in the surrounding area that you may be networked with have some really amazing courses. So look at as many of them as you can to help know how you want to design. But I'm just going to take you through my example. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and transition out of here and get into my Canvas course. And I'm going to get into it through student view. So I'm going to take you on a tour of what it would look like in a second. There we go. It was stuck. Okay, so I'm going to take you into my AP biology course. So I'm a student, and I'm like, okay, I have 3 things I need to do tonight for homework. So I missed school today because I had a job shadowing to do. So I need to get on AP Bio, look and see what I missed. I also have to post something to my classmates about lab data that I missed. So I'm going to do that. And then I also need to go back to a previous unit because I took my practice test for AP, and I know that I missed a lot of questions on Unit 1, which was forever ago. So I'm going to go ahead into AP Biology, my course. And here is the home page. Oh, I have 2 new announcements. I'll look at those later. So I'm going to first find out what I missed today. So I'm going to go into my weekly agenda. So here's my home page. Here's the weekly agenda. I'm going to click on that. And then here comes week of, okay, perfect. That's where I'm at. I'm going to click today's Tuesday. I'm going to click on Tuesday's assignment. I see what resources Mrs. Gosser left for me. I have no homework tonight. Excellent. So I can go ahead and click on my assignment for Tuesday. Here is exactly, it looks like there's some links in there. Nothing to turn in, I see, so that's good. So I'll read over this and do that in a bit. So I'm going to go back home. So I saw what I missed today in class. Awesome. My next thing was I need to get some lab data. So I'm going to put a question form out to the group and ask them if they can. I'm going to just go ahead and put a new question out. Those are red. I already did all those ones. So I'm going to put a discussion out there and ask my classmates if somebody could send me the data, the class data, because I don't have that. So I'm going to do that. And the last thing I need to do is get into a unit from a long time ago. So I'm going to go into modules. We're currently in unit 6, but I'm going to go all the way up to unit 1 because I didn't do well in that on my practice AP exam. So I'm going to click on here because there's one PowerPoint I need access to. And I don't remember which date it was on which agenda. So I'm just going to go into the actual unit. And from there, I'm going to be able to pull up all the materials that Mrs. Gosser has for us for Unit 1 learning targets. And I'll be able to get information about what I missed. And it's just spinning, so we're going to get out of there. So this was just a quick overview to show you a very quick tour of how one of my students, how they use this most and access this most. It showed you 3 things. Number 1, how they can communicate with their entire class to get data. And they did that through the question form. Number 2, how they can get to our current daily work. And then number 3, how they can get to past work from clear at the beginning of the year. So it will help them prepare for their end of the year exam. So that's what my little tour was. There's a lot of other things, and I'll take you through this as a teacher in a few moments. So let's go ahead. I'm going to go back here. I'm going to start my slideshow. Okay, so again, that was an example of a student going through and how they, or my students anyways, use my Canvas course most often. So as a teacher now, I highly, highly recommend that before you sit down to actually start to build your Canvas course, that you actually have a design in mind. And I use 2 different things to design, or 2 different constructs. I had to think, number 1, what do I want my course structure to be? So that's really how I'm going to deliver the content, how I'm going to deliver the skills. Where am I going to house that? Where's my how am I going to make it accessible to my students? So I look at that as my course structure. That's the behind the scenes kind of thing. How are the kids getting into the guts of the course to get to what they need? And the second thing I needed to consider is my homepage. What did I want my students to see as soon as they landed on that homepage? They clicked on my course, they got there. What do I want them to have immediate access to? What links am I going to provide them to get them to my to the inner workings or to their content? So those were the 2 things I thought of. I wrote it out on paper after my 3rd failed attempt at creating a course. And then once I had everything that I wanted my students to have access to, I was able to start to build. So I highly recommend designing on paper first and then building. So course structure. How will you structure your content, lessons, assignments, quizzes, discussions so that they're accessible to your students? So for me, the idea was there were 2 major questions 2 major questions that I had to consider. My first question was, how will my students know where to go for their daily activity? So again, if we're doing something in class that they're going to be using Canvas for, I want them to have a very quick access link to get right to that. And I don't want it to be in a different place every single day. So that was my first concern. Also, if a student's absent, how are they going to get to that work? My second concern was, how will they know? I'm going to move this simply because it's in the way. So excuse me. We're going to put that up there for now. Okay, sorry about that. So how will they know where to go if they need to find a resource that I posted 3 weeks ago or even in the beginning of the year? So if my student, like for example, both of the courses that I teach, my freshman biology course as well as my AP course, there's an end of the year high stakes exam that my kiddos have to take. So I want them to be able to go back through my individual modules, my individual units, and know where to get access to the material in case in one of their post test, one of their formative assessments, they find out, oh, I didn't do so well on this. I need to go back in time and relearn or review some of this material. So I needed to be able to have my students do both of those things daily, plus go back in the past to get past information. So when I designed my course, I rely heavily on two tools, modules and pages. And yes, I also use assignments and quizzes, but really a lot of those I embed in a page. So the way I look at this is my module is going to be my filing cabinet for a particular unit. So each unit is going to have its own little filing cabinet. And everything I have my students do, I'm going to have it either assigned on a page or on an assignment. And then I file them into the module in chronological order. So that was the course structure I had, using pages inside of modules, also assignments, also quizzes, things of that nature, but they all get put into a module. So that way, my students would have access to that module to be able to go back to it at any time, as you saw in the tour that my fake student took you on. But that didn't solve my problem with day-to-day work. I didn't want them have to go into a module and me name the module a date, because then it's still going to be like, well, what was this? It says a date, but I don't know what it was. So I created, and let me just show you. I'm going to take you on another little tour. Okay, so I created, and we'll go back to this course. I'm going to get out of student view. Okay, so now that I'm out of student view, if I go down here, I'm going to click on my modules button, and I'm going to take you into the inner workings of my course. And you're going to see all these different modules labeled. You see a weekly agenda module, an intro unit module. Here's my unit 1 module. I'm going to just collapse that. Here's my unit 2. So I have every single unit that I'm testing that College Board tests my kids on, already pre-populated, loaded in, ready to go. So my students can go into this at any time and access every single module that we do. But notice this weekly agenda module. If I click on that, you're going to see I have every weekly agenda posted from the first quarter, the second quarter, and the third quarter. And I didn't date these. So they're dated inside. So if I open it up, there's the date, there's my day of the week, there's the daily tasks the students are doing, any resources that they're going to need, and then any homework that I'm assigning for them for the next class period. So all the student needs to do is access their daily agenda if they miss class or if we're using it in class that day. And everything is loaded in there. So this is how I use my agendas. And then for the next week, I'll just go ahead and I'll copy an agenda, clear out all the links that I have in that one, and then add my new ones and change my date on it so that it's a very easy, I have a template and I just keep building it. Okay. Now, last year, I titled the modules with the date name. I don't need to do that next year. So when I go back in to do this, I'm still using the same module, the same agenda page. I'm just going to clear out what's in there and add in my new. That way I don't have to keep making new templates, in essence. Okay. Also, I do have a suggested reading schedule for what I want my kiddos doing for reading, since it's a lot of reading on their own sort of thing. So all of these agendas are housed inside of a module titled specifically agenda. So you'll see all of my agendas there. Just to show you the mistake that I made last year, here's my agendas for 2021. You'll see I dated them, and now the dates are all off, the weeks are all off. So I scrapped those this year completely and just went with the number of the week, which really helps anyways for interims, and it just lets the kids know where we're at in the quarter. So I like that, the newer method much better than what I did last year. And then after that, of course, is all of their units. Now, it's important to note every single thing that is on this agenda for this week is also found inside of the module for the unit we're on. So we're currently in unit 6. So right now my students had to do 6.12a, 6.12b. We're spending 2 days on that, 6.12c. So all of these, even though they're linked on an agenda, they're also linked in the module itself. So I'll show you that particular module. So I'm going to go to Unit 6 module, which is our current unit of study. I'm going to click on that, and you're going to see down here, this is all in chronological order, 6.1, 6.2, 6.3, and I number all of my activities, learning activities. So here I have 6.12a, 6.12b, 6.12c. So these are all now found in 2 places, on the agenda page that I linked them all on, and then again in the modules. So my kids have access to them both ways, okay? Also note, I do have my quizzes also underneath that module. So any quiz I've given during this unit will be under the appropriate module name. Any labs we do, any assignments will also be, so some of these are assignments. I don't have a lot of assignments on this one. So the thing about AP Bio, I don't grade learning activities. I typically only grade their quizzes, their labs, and their major tests. So all of their learning assignments are typically on pages because I don't want to put a grade to them. Now, if I am grading something, it would be an assignment that I post underneath the module. So let's see if there's anything else about structure I wanted to show you. Yeah, I think we're good there. So, well, I might as well just go into that now. Let me go into some other structures that I've helped teachers build. So when I did a training last year for this, I just designed this little Canvas homepage. Some teachers want to go Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. They want every single day out there. They don't want just a weekly. So they want their students to come in and say, okay, punch on Monday's work. They're going to click on Monday's work. It's going to take them to a module that has Monday's work in it. So the back end of this again looks like, here are my week 1. This is the page you were just at, Monday, January 1, January. So you could do all these different weekly modules, and then you just attach the day of that week onto the front page. So that's one method of doing, let me go to pages. Another method that a lot of teachers like, and I want to view multiple pages here. So I'm just on my sandbox, and these were just play ones that I did. So this would be weekly module. So instead of me having my weekly agenda, some teachers want to have all their weeks up, every week worth of work. So again, this is week 1. You click on it, it's going to take you to the week 1 agenda, and there it all is. Now this agenda will stay up on that for the entire 9 weeks or the entire year, whatever you want. My agenda goes away and it's housed in the module. Here, this agenda would stay on the front page and the kids could always go back to just that agenda. So you then don't need different modules technically. Another example that some teachers like to do is, let's go, you could have, okay, so this was, I helped a language arts teacher. So they break their units down into books or what they're reading. So here is an Of Mice and Men unit if they're reading The Road, reading Lord of the Flies, a short story unit, and then a poetry unit. So the students would just know what unit they're in. They come in, click, say, oh, okay, we're working in Of Mice and Men now. That's going to take them to a module that says Of Mice and Men, and then all of their work is going to be there, numbered, labeled, and the students would be able to easily go to that module and do whatever is next in line. So that would be another methodology of how you could set up the back end of your course so that you can make it easily accessible to your students. Okay. All right, so let's continue on with the PowerPoint just so I don't miss anything. So for my purpose, due to the nature of the courses I teach, I opted to do a combination of what I just showed you. I chose to do a weekly agenda, and that weekly agenda is going to be linked to a button on my homepage. It's a Monday through Friday table, and my students, it changes every single week. Those weekly agendas are housed in their own module called the weekly agenda module. So students always have access to them, just not from the homepage. They only have access to the weekly agenda for the week we're in from the homepage. And then they have a unit modules. It's accessible to them through the current unit module button on the front page. Every single resource, assignment, quiz, discussion is also placed in chronological order in that appropriate module. So the students can go directly to that, especially if they're preparing for their end of the year exam, or if there's a resource that they need to go back to because they missed a week and we changed units or something along those lines. So that's why I do both. Some teachers ask, is that more work? And it's slightly more work, but not, honestly, it's just two extra clicks. It's really not very difficult to do. And the amount of time it saves both you and your students in answering, where can I find this? Miss G, how do I get back to this? Is just going to be a lifesaver for you if you're a tested course, or even if you give a final end of the year final. This was a really nice course structure. So that's the back end of my course, and the front end of it is the home page, and that's the entry point. So I look at it as two ways. So when my students come into my classroom, I like my classroom to be appealing to them, to be calm, to be safe. So I want my home page to also convey that. I want it to be an extension of my brick and mortar. So I look at my homepage as number one, the entry point. It takes them in and it lets them know, okay, you're here, things are calm, now let's get to work. And then the second part of the homepage is it's now their roadmap. It allows them to know where to go to access the information that they need to access. And I'm not going to do a PowerPoint through this, I'll just show you. So for example, if we go into my Bio 402, this is my homepage that I created for my Biology 402 kiddos. This first thing, this is just like my banner. You can click on it anywhere, just a little bit about the course, a nice little quote. But these buttons underneath are linked to very specific places in the back end of the course, the stuff I just went over, the course structure. So I do the same thing for my freshman kiddos. I have an agenda. So they click on that agenda on the day-to-day basis. They can go to what our current agenda is. Sometimes that agenda is populated for the whole week ahead of time. Sometimes I populate it as I go. So that takes them to their weekly agenda. I'm going to go back home. And then just like I did in my AP Bio classes, I also have a current module button. So this takes them to the modules. They don't just access current module, it takes them to where the current one is, but they can access all the other modules as well as that weekly agenda module. Okay. So those are the two most used buttons. Another thing on my front page is I put a resources button. So if they need to, for example, I'm going to go back to here. My AP kiddos, they have a lot of resources available to them, things that we use commonly through the year. Their AP Bio Lab manuals here, an electronic version of it in case they don't have their hard copy, just all sorts of things that they'll need to access throughout the entire year. And then these are our common websites that we go to for simulations, for online labs, things of that nature. So I always make that accessible to them. My freshmen, it will say Keystone resources for them to prepare for the Keystone exam. I have my course syllabus. So course syllabus just goes over this, my expectations of what the course is, and it gives an overview of every single thing that the students are going to be doing during that school year. The question form I've already explained to you. This is really driven by the students. They control this. I will monitor it and moderate it, but it's a way for them to ask each other questions. I have this for Bio 402. It's not heavily as used, but my AP kiddos really use this resource. And it's just a way for them to share easy access to data. Hey, did I do this problem right? That sort of thing. Then, of course, Google Meets for when we are remote. I have an AP Classroom button because we go here all the time. So I want to make it easy for my kids just to get to AP Classroom. Canvas Video Tour. This is for onboarding or new kiddos that just come into my class. It just shows them kind of what I'm showing you right now. And then there's an About Your Teacher page. It's just a page that has all kind of little information about their teacher, fun stuff, fun facts. BHS Corner is it was a mistake I made the first year. I didn't have a place for my students or for guidance or the office to say, hey, can you please put this on your homepage, teachers, for all of our kiddos. I was like, oh, my homepage is not as easy to maneuver or change around. And yes, I could put it in announcements, but I tell my kids these announcements are sacred for our class. I'm not going to post an announcement unless it's really important. So I didn't want it to become white noise for them, my announcements button. So this is a way that I can post things that, other departments need me to post, or extracurriculars, things like that. So it just gives them school-wide information that's not necessarily about our classroom. Okay. So that's pretty much, in a nutshell, the way I design all of my courses for the most part. I don't have a lot of tabs open for my kiddos to use. Like, I close off pages, and here I'll get to why. I'll just start back up the PowerPoint again. Okay, so designing your homepage, you can do it one of two ways. You can use a pre-made template, which you can get from Commons, and there are these nice little templates that you can go on. You can modify them a little bit. The con for me, I found, is if it didn't have enough buttons on there for me, or maybe it just didn't have enough functionality for what I wanted, and it was too hard for me to change because I'm not a coder. I don't do that. I'm pretty straightforward. So even though it was faster, it just wasn't easily changeable for me. So I just decided to design my homepage from scratch, and I used a design program called Canva, and they have an educator's account. I love Canva. I learned how to use it because of Canvas. No, they are not related, but I made it decorative. Again, it was important to me that it was going to be a nice, calm course for my kids. So it takes a little bit more time, but it's much easier to change up if you need to change it up for some reason. And you can really fine tune it for exactly what you want it to be. So I chose from scratch rather than a pre-made template. So what should I allow students access to on the left navigation bar? And that's what I started to say. Do you want your students to have access to pages, to assignments, to quizzes, to files? My thought on that is giving them access to pages or assignments is like giving them access to a warehouse, because really that's what those are. They're warehouses. They have every single assignment, and maybe not in any kind of order that you would want your kids to see it. But they're also then not seeing pages. So I'll put learning activities on pages and then assignments on assignments. So for me, I really need my kids to be able to access all the pages and assignments and quizzes in the order I want to control what order they're seeing them in. So that's why I take all of those things and I put them in a module in the order I want. And then I close off my pages, my assignments, my quizzes, because they don't need access to all of that. It just is too random for them. So that's how I designed my course. If you have any questions, if you need help, if you have questions on Canva, even how to design, I can certainly walk you through something. Please feel free to reach out to me. My name again is Tina Gosser, tgosser@bwschools.net, and there's my phone number and my extension. So I'm more than happy to answer any questions or help anybody out.